Oh man, where to start with this one? So, there's so much to talk about with this. I'm definitely not going to be able to cover all of it in a single video, but a lot of you guys probably have experience with pornography. So do I. But before we get into it, I want to give a small update on the toys situation. I've had them for probably a few weeks now, and I'm really starting to get used to them. I've only used them a handful of times. I'm honestly starting to realize that I have that, what do you call it, death grip? By the way, if you're new to this channel, I'm going to be talking about some pretty heavy topics here, so be warned. But death grip is when you masturbate with your hand for so long that you get used to the sensation of your hand, and you can control the pressure and the sensitivity to a really specific degree, which is unlike real sex, where you can't control how tight a vagina is. And it leads to a situation where, when you actually start to have sex instead of just masturbating with your hand, the sensation is very different, and it's starting to get a little difficult to get all the way to ejaculation for me, which has never been an issue before, because I was always able to control that pressure. The first time I used toys was the homemade one. I was really quick to finish that first time because it was a brand new sensation. But now that I'm used to it, it's much more difficult. The last time I used it, I almost couldn't finish. That's super new for me. I'm getting used to it. I'm still excited about it, you know? I think that means I'm making progress, right? I read the comments, you guys are totally right. Sex toys aren't even close to the real thing, obviously, especially when you don't warm it up. But it is closer than your hand, I'd say. That's kind of what I want to do with these toys, is I want to get a better approximation of the feeling before I actually start my sex life. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of a cool update. Oh, one other important thing I forgot to mention. One of the changes I made that I'd recommend if you want to start down the same path that I'm going was I started using both hands to masturbate instead of just the main hand. Because I think everybody has that dominant hand that they use, right? That's not just me. Well, one thing I decided to try was using the other one, enough to where I could use both pretty efficiently. And it was a whole new sensation. That's really the thing here. New sensations. New experiences. So, anyway, those two things I just wanted to get off my back. But the main topic of today is my porn addiction. Addiction in quotations. We'll get into it. So, I don't know about you guys, but I started watching porn when I was about 11, like 11 and a half. I had an iPod Touch that I think I got around that time. I think I had actually like an iPad before then, and that's how I would do it. I mean, you know, we all find it one way or another. First it was a magazine, then it was pictures, you know, just random things you'd collect. You'd drop in as like, okay, that's a core memory. Those titties, they're never leaving my brain. But yeah, I started watching porn when I was 11. It started with a meme, like one of those top text, bottom text memes, with a really suggestive pose. I know that's vague. I actually found the meme, the original meme of my sexual awakening, and I thought I'd be able to show it to you, but it's too revealing. I might be able to blur it, but that's about all I can do. That was a really, really formative experience for me. I'd go back to that same Google image over and over and over again for weeks, just because that was my first time really experiencing something like that. I was still afraid to look up, like, oh, pictures of boobs, or pictures of blah blah blah. But that was the next step. I just went right to it, I got a little more confident. Pictures of big boobs, huge boobs. I did get caught once because I typed it into YouTube, and I think someone found it. And it was a little embarrassing. They were like, don't do that again. Okay, I guess I won't. I also specifically remember one of the first things that got me into internet porn. This would have been like, I would have been like 14 or 15. That's not right. A little younger than that, like 12 or 13. So like 2014, 2015. There was a video on YouTube called like How to Breastfeed, where a woman had her actual boobs out. I would go back to that video a lot when I masturbated. Back then, I guess that was somehow allowed on YouTube. You can get away with certain things when you call them educational. I guess I'm a prime example of that. But, I mean, this was fully out, so I'm really surprised it was up for as long as it was. Because I went back to that stuff a lot. Then, eventually, I found out what a porn site was. It starts with the letter X. I never really ventured beyond that. I didn't even get on the hub until probably about 5 years ago. I'm 23, so I've been watching porn for about a decade. But for the first half, I was only on one site, the main site. I guess I was smart enough to not visit any of those shady sites, which, thank God, because the amount of malware and stuff on like random third-party porn sites is massive, okay? Do not do it. There's a few that I use that I know are safe because I've been using them for a while, but I would not recommend it, especially not without a VPN. And no, that is not me transitioning to a sponsorship. You think I could get sponsored on videos like these? I did get caught watching straight up porn one time, and I got my phone taken away for a while. And then when I got it back, it had restrictions on it. I'm a dumbass, and I didn't know how to delete my search history. It was specifically one of those, like, taxi porn videos, where you'd have a cab driver like, hey, you can't pay for the fare, well, let's do it in the back seat. One of those stupid stories. I guess I used to be into those kind of fantasies. I'm not really so much anymore. Just seems a little too unrealistic, I guess. I mean, it does happen, I suppose, but where would you even go to do it? They're like in the middle of a city. Anyway, I actually remember, I don't know if you guys have any porn videos that really stuck with you, if you have watched it. There were a few videos during my addiction that really grossed me out, and they were really early on. One was a freakishly huge dick. It was one of those really, really fake ones, and it was obviously fake. I mean, it was probably like as long as your arm from the tip of your finger to your elbow. It was one of those kinds of videos, you know? Very low quality, aspect ratios all wrong. That was before I knew the porn tricks, which, if you don't know, sometimes, you know, porn directors will actually create fake penises that are freakishly long, that aren't real. You can usually tell from the way lube and spit hits the surface. It doesn't look the same. And also, if the cum is actually like pure white, like milk white, then it's obviously fake. There was a lot of disgust mixed with jealousy of the size, and that was a really weird feeling, and I hated it. I think I actually stopped watching porn for a while because of it. All through my decade now of watching it, decade plus, probably 11 or 12 years now, at some periods during that time, I kicked my porn habit and then I went back to it, or it's been once a week, or it's been every day. I've tried a whole bunch of different stuff. It goes up and down. But the other thing that grossed me out was a close-up of a deep throat video. I am not into the deep throat stuff. It's never appealed to me. I just can't imagine. That must like really, really hurt. And it was a video that was really close up on it going down the throat, and it was just, I can't do stuff like that. Those two videos really stuck out in my mind as stuff that really kind of turned me off to a lot of mainstream porn. Now, if you're wondering what kind of things I would look up on Pornhub, well, not the hub, it would be the X site. I'm afraid to say the name because, you know, that's probably going to get the video flagged. I'm going to save that for another video. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but I started an experiment. I created a new email, a burner email, and I signed up to a mainstream porn service, and I'm going to use it for a few weeks, let it build an algorithm, and then I'm going to do one of these videos where I go through and see exactly what is in my recommended. I'm going to read off the titles to you, and we're going to analyze what kind of stuff is showing up for me and what that might say about me. I think it could be a fun video. Anyway, first, when I was looking stuff up on the site, it was general actions, because I wasn't sure of exactly what things were yet. First, I probably learned what a blowjob was, and I got confused, like, you're not blowing on anything? Why is it called job? I don't have a job. I don't want a job. Then there's other jobs like foot job, ass job, titty fuck, which is that one's kind of a weird one, because it probably doesn't happen a lot in real life. Titty fucking is one of those things where, I mean, obviously I've never experienced it, but that's probably one of those categories where if it's your first time watching porn, You don't realize how much that probably doesn't happen in real life, only on a porn site. And then you have your big dicks and your big boobs and your big insert genitalia here. I think I zeroed in on big dicks, which probably contributed a lot to my own insecurity about my size, my penis size. Trust me, that is a whole video. There's a lot of stories involving my size and some things I've gone through, but we'll save those for later. They deserve their own videos. There was a lot of POV in the early stages. I'm not sure what that says about me. Maybe I just really enjoy certain angles. I'm a cameraman, you know? I like doing digital stuff. So a lot of this porn early on was live action. Pretty much exclusively live action. And nowadays, it's almost exclusively hentai, animated, images. It's not really just the hub or whatever. There's a lot of Google Images stuff. I don't go on like Roll34 and scroll down sites like that, really. I'm still on Google Images just because it's easier. I mean, hey, it lessens the risk of like malware and whatever. One thing about me that you might find interesting. I used to use porn to inspire fantasy scenarios. You know, I think this is how a lot of people typically use pornography. They'll look up a video of brunette doing this. They watch the video, they turn it off, and then they imagine a brunette that they know in a sexual situation with them. I don't really do that. I mean, I'm sure I have before, but back then I would basically do that. But somewhere along the way, this changed to a more general sexual focus and a more general feeling. It's been a long time since I've had a masturbation session where I actually imagined myself in that scenario. Does anybody else feel this way, or does anybody else do this? I legitimately don't imagine fantasies really anymore. Maybe that shows some erotophobia and a fear of IRL sex. I don't want to imagine myself doing it because I just don't see myself doing it yet. I've never thought of my real-world self in a sexual way. Sex for me has, for many years now, always been intertwined with the stuff that I draw and candles, the character, other characters. I don't assign sex to my real-world person. When I try to imagine myself actually having sex in real life, it doesn't feel possible. Maybe just that's because I've been a virgin for so long, or it seems so far away. I don't know. It's probably just a thing about being a virgin, and I'll get over it when I actually have sex. Honestly, because of the death grip stuff, when I actually have sex for the first time, I'll probably be so nervous that I won't be able to get it up. And I'm going to be really uncomfortable with physical touch of that nature. I'm actually learning in general that I'm kind of uncomfortable with touch in general because of some deeply seated erotophobia. Maybe I'm rejecting my masculinity, you know? Whenever I go to give hugs, I'm kind of uncomfortable. Not because the idea of touching someone is like gross to me. I'm not exactly the most hygienic person either. But it's almost like it's so pounded into my brain that I'm not allowed. You are not supposed to be touching somebody. That's probably more just a symptom of living in the modern world, where everybody is going around completely touch-starved. No one wants to touch each other. No one wants to hug each other. Even a high five is like, you gotta be on a certain level for that, you know? Maybe that's just part of why people are having sex less and less. Having passionate sex. People just aren't as comfortable with touch anymore. I'm not complaining, I'm just an interesting observation. Maybe it's not just me, I don't know. Nowadays, I don't consider myself addicted to porn. There's actual research to talk about in a well-edited video, but porn addiction, as we think of it, isn't really a thing. I mean, it's subjective, I guess. It's not a recognized diagnosis, I'm pretty sure. Fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's not officially recognized as something like an actual addiction. Because it's not like a substance abuse, right? When you're addicted to a substance like heroin or cocaine or whatever, you become chemically dependent on that drug. When you withdraw from it, there's physical symptoms. Cold sweats, vomiting, other kinds of sickness. But with porn addiction, in quotes, the withdrawal symptoms are just wanting to do it, and that's kind of it. Sex is a natural part of life. Doesn't mean you have to have sex to live, but it's completely normal. You know, it's like eating. Some people choose to stay thin and healthy. They don't eat very much at all. Some choose to eat a lot more and be bigger. One of them isn't inherently healthier than the other. The level to which you eat is up to you. Of course, there's a difference between eating a lot and having an eating disorder. I would say there's a porn use disorder before I say there's a porn addiction. If it's affecting your relationships or your life in general, that's when you get help. Then you can call it an addiction. I mean, you can call it an addiction if you want, even if it's not really an addiction, if that helps you. But in my experience, calling it an addiction only does more damage because it makes you feel like you don't have control over your habits. And maybe you don't have as much control as you'd want. Maybe I don't. I've gone without porn for weeks on end and I was fine. Sometimes it's very, very alluring. I mean, it's like saying you have an addiction to fast food or coffee. Like, yeah, we probably all do, but we don't really think of it that way, right? If we had to make a change for a medical reason or for something else, for the sake of a partner, then we could. It might be a little difficult, but it's not like a substance. That's why I don't really call it an addiction. When I stopped calling it that and I just started taking account for it and I said, like, you know, I kind of want to do this and I kind of don't think it's a huge deal in the way that I do it, then it kind of became easier to not do it as often. Nowadays, I watch porn maybe once or twice a week. Sometimes I don't even masturbate until like once a week, which would have been crazy for me a couple of years ago. But porn has become so ubiquitous and concentrated in recent years, there's more niche things becoming mainstream through the internet. Things like hentai, or fudanari, or Roll34, all this stuff. These are very new problems. Porn isn't new. You know, ever since cavemen were drawing, you know, penises on cave walls and whatever, you know, it's human nature to be interested in sex, to fantasize about sex. It's what drives us as people. Most of us, you know. Asexuality, even though asexuality doesn't mean the absence of sex. I need to make a video on that at some point. The point is, I have my own porn addiction journey. It starts with me becoming addicted to internet porn and then getting caught and then getting back on it again, trying to kick the habit until finally this push and pull, I just kind of accepted it as something I do. And yeah, it might be difficult for me to quit it entirely, but it's also difficult to quit coffee or Chipotle or other not great habits, but there's worse things you can do. And at the very least, I try to apply it to these videos. If I'm going to have to look at porn, then I can at least do something productive with it. And maybe you can too. You know, I'd love for somebody out there, somebody listening to this, I'd love for you to start your own YouTube channel where you talk about your sexual experience. It's certainly working out for me. I'm getting decent views. If you want to do it, you go right ahead. All you need is a microphone, maybe some gameplay. Legitimately, I'd love to see other people out there doing it. And I'd love to collab. I'd love to talk to you guys. We can get in a group, you know, group Discord call or whatever and record it for a video. That'd be so much fun. I love making these videos and talking about sex with you guys, but I'd love it even more if there were more people that did it. There are more people, but I don't know. Nobody who is willing to really put their personal life on the line and really go out there and talk about this kind of stuff, you know? Enough with the egotistical whatever. I guess I just wish there were more sex ed YouTubers out there who were willing to take the risk. I don't know. This video kind of got off topic, didn't it? Anyway, that's all I wanted to say for this one. I'm going to keep making these videos. I don't want to make too many of them. The vulva video is still coming. But no, it's still on the way. It's taking a while just because the story portion is a lot longer than the last one. Like, I think it's over 6 minutes, actually. 6 or 7 minutes. And it's coming along really nicely. I've already got some of the voice acting back. I'm even looking into making music for this one. I have somebody looking into that now. It's going to be really fun. So, I hope to see you in the next video. My name is Candles, I love you all. Good night.